Do you know why you should be extremely concerned about what is going on in France? And again, I did this video yesterday. Well, this is what Masoud Yosef, the Green Prince, the son of Hamas, posted. And I quote, "The French Revolution. It has been 17 years, or maybe you meant revolution. It has been 17 years since my last visit to Paris. I can barely recognize the place. 15% of French population today are Muslims. It would take them 5 generations to integrate. By then there won't be France. Extreme measures must be taken immediately. That includes mass deportation of illegal migrants, invaders, immediate deportation of the pro-Palestine. Muslims who don't submit to the French constitution as a higher authority than Allah should lose their citizenship. Islam is not a religion. It is a totalitarian system, and mosques are hate houses that must be closely monitored. Any political activity at any mosque should be considered a serious violation against the law. But the current French government is partnering with Qatar for the Olympics security. The games will most likely end up in a disaster." Do you know what country was once more Western that then turned into an Islamic theocracy? Iran. Check out what Iran used to look like before the Islamic Revolution in 1979. Now listen to this Iranian exilee talk about what his concerns about what he sees happening in the West today.
Political refugee from Iran. I've been to prison, I've been under Islamic law, and I know how it starts and I know how it ends. And it always starts with the, for some reason, unity of left and Islamists, and it scares me. So I came here to be free. I chose Canada as my second home to live in a free country, and I'm beginning to get really scared because the way things are going, it looks like they're going to basically appease Islamists just to not raise any ruckus or something. They're just going to appease them step by step, and they're not going to stop. They see it as a sign of weakness, so they're going to take more and more, and I'm against that. I believe Canada should be free, and freedom of speech is something that nobody can take.
Now, the student in that video spoke about how it was the unity of the left and the Islamists that brought about the revolution in Iran in 1979. That then led to the Islamists taking power. So what happened to the Marxist leftists after the Islamists took power in Iran? Well, Chala Chafiq was a 25-year-old Marxist activist during the 1979 Iranian Revolution, now in exile in France. She was interviewed in this article titled, "How Iran's Theocrats Allied with and Then Crushed the Left." So, let's read what she says. She explains how after the revolution succeeded, the Islamist regime under Khomeini started to censor and ban a lot of newspapers and other writings of the Marxist leftist groups who were protesting in the streets together with Islamist supporters of Khomeini. But when the Islamists took power in Iran, overthrowing the Western Shah, everyone who supported Khomeini considered all the leftist groups, the progressive left, as their number one enemy and wanted to get rid of them too. But the Marxist leftists were totally surprised because they still considered their number one enemy not to be Khomeini and the Islamists, but the West. And the left was totally crushed by the Islamist regime of Khomeini that they helped put into power. Sound familiar with what we see taking place today in France, Germany, Sweden, Britain, and other Western European countries, and potentially other freedom-loving countries? In the Iranian Revolution, the Marxist leftists, the progressives, were useful idiots of the Islamists. In their Marxist zeal to bring about the destruction of the Western influence on Iran, they ushered in an Islamic theocracy that then crushed the freedom and the Marxist progressive left in Iran, and whatever freedom they had. That is why freedom-loving people have to be very afraid of what we are witnessing today with the active partnership between the progressive left and the Islamists in America, France, Germany, Canada, and the whole freedom-loving world. In America, that is exactly what the Democratic Squad is. A useful idiot AOC and her fellow progressive leftists have partnered with Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and other Islamists The crazy thing is that the second the Islamists succeed in having Muslims take over in American politics, we will see the intolerance of Iran crop up in those cities and states in America. Just look at what happened to the city of Hamtramck, Michigan. I most probably said that wrong. The progressive left helped elect the first ever Muslim city in that city of Hamtramck, and then the first decision made by the newly elected Muslim mayor was to ban the flying of the LGBT flag. Right? So the progressives celebrated the election of a Muslim mayor, and then they were the first ones banned. The city of Hamtramck then removed 2 members of a city commission for breaking that new law for flying the LGBT flag. This is America, folks. It's a city in Michigan. It's already happening. Now, believe me, I personally am no fan of the LGBT flag and the agenda it represents and the destruction it's bringing to the younger generation. But I'm totally against making the flying of the flag illegal. And America is already getting a taste of what's going to happen as the red-green Marxist-Islamist alliance has more and more political successes in freedom-loving democratic countries. The revolution is in full swing already. And there are only 2 options for every single freedom-loving democracy. Either the political pushback to the Marxist-Islamist revolution, which will lead to violence and destruction in the streets, like we're witnessing in France today, or the leftists and Muslims win and turn cities, states, and countries into the Islamist theocracies like Iran, where the first ones they will crush will be the useful idiot progressive leftists. As with regards to Israel, thankfully, most of our Jewish population are traditional, proud Jews, and we will never allow the Marxist-Islamist revolution to take over here in Israel. But we are fighting the actual front line of the battle against the Marxist-Islamist revolution with our bodies and weapons. And yes, despite the external and internal challenges we have, we will win that as well. And I always talk to you about that. In the meantime, everyone beware of the Marxist-Islamist revolution that will literally impact every single freedom-loving country in the world today. Every country will either win or with enough people waking up to use democracy to replace the political left with patriotic citizens, which will then inevitably lead to a civil war that we are beginning to see develop in France. These are rocky, rocky times, what I call redemptive, biblical geula times. And that's why I'm optimistic that in the end we will come out of this okay, especially the Jewish people in the land of Israel. It is just going to be a very challenging few years. And the most important thing is to know what's going on and communicate with your children and your grandchildren what's going on, because they're being brainwashed daily by social media and regular establishment media with this progressive agenda that is working hand in hand with the Islamists. So we have to wake up our children, we have to wake up our grandchildren so they get on the right side of history, save themselves, and help save your countries, your cities, your states, etc. Things will be